I'm Alan.
And I'm AJ.
And we are both transfer students at Nash Community College. And you're watching another episode of Nash in Action. And this is a way to keep you updated on everything that's going on our beautiful campus.
Hello, I'm Keith Smith, Associate Vice President for Community and Governmental Affairs here at Nash Community College. And this month we are celebrating diversity. We had an excellent presentation from a Mr. Howard Isaacs of Monique College, St. Anne's, Jamaica, and his co-presenter was Tricia Robb Brown. The topic was the impact of slavery on the Caribbeans and North Carolina. And of course, as you watch this presentation, you will see there are quite a few parallels between the two places. Of course, slavery, no one can deny the impact that slavery had on North Carolina, but I think it would be interesting to see the perspective that Mr. Howard brings with this presentation. Monique College is our sister college in St. Anne's, Jamaica, and of course, we are looking forward to this episode with Mr. Howard Isaacs and Tricia Robb Brown. I hope that you will enjoy this presentation. Without further ado, I introduce to you the topic, the impact of slavery on the Caribbeans and North Carolina.
The establishment of settlements and the need to have viable economic entities set the context for the large-scale production of commercial crops. The Caribbean's primary focus then was sugar, while the Carolinas concentrated on indigo, tobacco, and rice. In a bid to reduce overhead costs and by extension maintain a profit margin, there was a steady demand for reliable, cheap, and controllable supply of labor. In this regard, the importation of West Africans was seen as the most efficient medium to facilitate this end. Japot et al. Defined slavery, and I quote, as a system in which the enslaved African was a chattel, that is property, and could be bought and sold with impunity. As property, they had no rights before the law, end of quote. One of the things that we recognize is that in some cases slaves were carried into the British West Indies first and then sent over to the Carolinas because of the fact that, particularly to North Carolina, because of the fact that in most cases the slaves that came into the Carolinas came through the south. And in some cases some planters decided to let their slaves come through the Caribbean and then across to North Carolina. So then when we look at the numbers, we'll see that between 1700 to 1786, in Jamaica alone, 610,000 persons came via slavery into Jamaica. In Saint-Domingue, Haiti, there was over 800,000 persons coming in. In Barbados, 148,000 persons coming in within a period of time. And you'll notice that it's between 1680 to 1776. So it's a massive migration. The character of slavery in these areas had both divergent and convergent structures. Despite these variances, the social, cultural impact of slavery was similar among the enslaved African people and has left a lasting legacy in the Caribbean and the Carolinas. This socio-cultural response is interwoven within the dynamics of a new geographical era, changing family patterns, covert and overt forms of resistance, religion, formation of socialization networks, and the construction of new cultural identities.
Family has always been the nucleus of African society, and it was not any different among the enslaved in the Carolinas and the Caribbean. Studies have identified elements of West African family practices in the New World. R.T. Smith, who is a renowned Caribbean sociologist, speaks to matrifocal patterns in family whereby the mother played an important role. There is a raging debate about the impact of slavery on African American marriages and family life. This debate focuses on matrifocality, whether or not this was inherited from Africa or has its makings in the structure of the plantation system. Even though colonial society was patriarchal, enslaved women were dominant actors in shaping lives. The structure of plantation society was not engendered to facilitate nuclear families. For the most part, the male figure was not a constant in the lives of children.
One of the things that we recognize as we speak about adaptation is that music, to a large extent, played a critical role in the life of the slave. And even to today, you'll recognize that several forms of music that we currently enjoy have an African origin. Negro spirituals is African in the context of how they sing. It has an African base. Jazz and the blues, that is black music being come over a period of time, and it is now as established as it is. In the Caribbean, we have had several forms of music that also speaks to us evolving. And in the same context, what we need to recognize is that earlier in the discussion we said that what the slaves did was to adapt, to survive. And therefore music is an expression. It speaks to the people. If you really want to understand a people, understand their music. If you understand their music, you will understand them. Because in their music, they speak to you. They tell you who they are. And therefore, even from an early stage, music became a critical part of the life of an African, and of an American, and of a person who came into slavery. Reggae is a music, a rebel music, we defined it. Calypso, and you'll see there, which is with the carnival, which is predominantly coming out of the Eastern Caribbean. Carnival is an annual thing for us, where they will dress. And in Brazil, one of the biggest carnival in the world is the Brazil Carnival. In New Orleans, they do have their carnival also. All of this is a part of the socio-cultural impact of slavery on the New World. Slavery, my colleagues, had its horrors. In spite of this, the enslaved of both the Caribbean and the Carolinas were able to adapt, create new lives, carve an indelible niche on society, and form their own identities. Noted Caribbean historian Hilary Beckles underscores this when he says, and I quote, "Enslaved Africans were concerned with much more than their mere survival. They approached the experience of chattel bondage in the Caribbean and elsewhere with a determination to assert their humanity and cultural identities." In the early African tribe, when a mother became pregnant with a baby, what would happen is that she would leave her home, walk out and go into the forest. And there in the forest, she would sit and she would attune herself with the growing baby. And when I say attune, get to understand what's happening inside her. And as she understood it, she developed a tune of that child, a special sound for that child. And she would come back to her family and she would share that melody with them. And when the child was born, that would be the melody that the family would sing to the child. So then that became the child's song. That became the child's song. And therefore, every birthday, the child's song is done. Every major happening, birthdays, achievement at school, that song is done. And one of the things that the historians say is that whenever that child did something wrong, the village, because by now the entire village would know the song, and the village would put the child in the center, and the village would walk around the child and simply sing the child his or her song, just to remind him or her where they are coming from.
Nash Community College, your first choice for a college education. Whether considering a 2-year or 4-year degree, Nash Community College offers many options. Flexible class schedules, online courses, hands-on training, plus a variety of programs from advertising and graphic design to culinary technologies or college transfer. You'll find your place, and our award-winning faculty and staff are here to make sure of it. Nash Community College. Check us out today at nashcc.edu. That's nashcc.